Alrighty, welcome back everyone. It is LaughNgamez here. I'm back with another Starcraft 2 1 versus 1 bot AI cast. We have got ourselves what should be a good one here today. It's going to be a TVT between two titans of the bot scene. It is none other than MicroMachine taking on the Turtle King himself, Ketroc. But Ketroc's bot, very revolutionary in quite a few ways, just with the strategy that it employs. It really is great to watch in this day and age. And so, Ketroc's bot with a very concise plan, if I had to guess, going up against MicroMachine, like it likes to get up its expansions. And MicroMachine kind of just builds stuff and attacks for the most part. And that's what that's why it's going to be interesting to see how these two do against each other. And yeah, ladies and gentlemen, we're on the map Hard Lead, the AI edition. Hit that like button if you haven't already. You guys are the best at it. Leave a comment down below saying more bots if you want to see more of these bots. Join the Discord, which is linked down below. And subscribe if you haven't already. Okay, so a TVT, we've got a much faster expansion for MicroMachine up on the high ground. Ketroc's bot does sometimes go for a slightly later expo, but being very safe as always with a bunker I shouldn't say up on the low ground, down on the low ground. And then getting up its factory before that expansion. MicroMachine going for a second Rax, interestingly enough. And so we will see quite a bit of difference between these two bots, and that's what makes watching these bot games fun, is that even though they can be the same race, they play completely differently. And so we'll see. I think the only thing that these two bots share closely is the fact that they both like to harass with banshees at times. Ketroc's bot very good with the banshees, so is MicroMachine. And then MicroMachine gonna have that command center done up on the high ground, nice and safe. Can float that down there. Gets out a second Reaper, interestingly enough. However, it's being a little bit blocked by that bunker. Spotted the bunker, is like, I can't go by that. And then there's a wall on the high ground, interestingly enough, for Ketroc's bot. I should have pointed that out sooner. That almost seems like a very anti-MicroMachine play. It definitely works, though. And so these two Reapers are not going to get much done at all. Ketroc's bot now getting a command center down on the low ground. And then it's going to be just able to macro up a little bit of a later expand than MicroMachine. However, we've seen enough Ketroc's bot games to know that that's not too significant. It is also going to potentially get that as a planetary on the low ground. And that just makes it basically never lose its natural base, as it's very defensive. However, it does hurt the economy of Ketroc. And we have seen that in the past in these bot games, in which it's like, oh man, if this bot had just made some more orbitals or something, it could have potentially won a game. And we've actually seen that. I want to say it was Veteran going up against maybe Benbot in another great late game TVT, but going for mass orbitals is a good strategy, leaves you a little bit less defensive, and I think that's why Ketroc's bot tends to just go for the natural base, as it either goes for a planetary at the natural and then orbitals at the rest of its bases, or it at least goes for quite a few extra orbital commands when it can, so it can still drop lots of mules. We are going to see that it will indeed be an orbital, actually, so that's good to see. The eBay just to potentially build turrets, or who knows. We do have one of those Reapers run on in, tries to scout, eats a tank shot and some marine shots, does get out of there. We already see the two turrets up for Ketroc's bot, so that's the use of the engineering bay, not going for the super defensive planetary at the natural. And both of these bots are just having a gentleman's agreement to macro up so far. Now, MicroMachine with a slight worker lead due to the openings. Ketroc's bot, though, getting everything up that it wants, getting up cloak so we'll be able to make use of those Banshees. And unlike Ketroc's bot, MicroMachine does not necessarily go for turrets in its mineral line super duper quickly. We've got MicroMachine also moving out, going to be looking to pressure Ketroc's bot. However, I don't think we see Ketroc's bot's natural get broken almost ever, so it's going to be a tall order for MicroMachine to make something happen in this position. Can try and stim forward or break this location, but I do not think that will happen with 2 tanks, a bunker, Marines and Vikings to support this. MicroMachine saying, what, air units? I'm not ready, as it sees the Vikings. However, it's going to need to get ready, as there's now a Banshee heading towards the main base of MicroMachine, and the anti-air is really lacking. MicroMachine saying, I guess I should prepare against cloaked or burrowed units. Yeah, it's a little late for that one, buddy, as the turret is building, but the Banshee is already here. There's a couple of Marines coming back to help deal with this, but so far, Ketroc's strategy is working real well, and that worker count is evening up big time. SCVs are suiciding themselves, trying to build that. Some of the Marines stim, but they're still afraid to engage that Banshee. That's one of the bot things. They can't really do the math on, or they can't easily do the math on what it takes to push a Banshee away. There's a scan and a stim forward to push that away. Looks like that turret will get up as a result. The Banshee actually dies. That's really important. The worker count, though, all of a sudden is in the lead for Ketroc's bot, and that definitely hurts. MicroMachine had to pull all the way back home, and Ketroc's bot has bought itself a lot of time. No pun intended. It's up to 4 starports right now, so it can make lots of Vikings, lots of Banshees. There's no way that MicroMachine will break this location. It stims, runs in, runs out. It may get the bunker, but I think that's as good as it's going to get, and it may actually lose a siege tank due to a scan. The bunker does die, at least at the cost of a tank, and MicroMachine is now getting up a 3rd command center, which is important. But still, the losses have been really bad for the blue bot. Now, Ketroc behind this is getting up more and more of these Banshees, the mass Banshee style. We'll see if it eventually goes into the BC. Is MicroMachine, though, playing with the more ragtag group of units, making some tanks, Marines, its own Banshees, whereas Ketroc's bot is pretty much just going into this mass air style. No 3rd for Ketroc's bot just yet, so MicroMachine can maintain an economic lead. However, Ketroc's bot is very scary when it comes to how it expands. It just expands all over the darn place. It's like an SCV is trying to expand to the north there. That will not happen, though, as so Ketroc's bot sends one towards the left. 3rd base getting up, and once Ketroc's bot gets rolling with the macro, we see a 3rd, a 4th, a 5th just take all the bases it possibly can. Now, MicroMachine going to try and attack once again, relaunch offensive. We see Ketroc's Banshee getting 0 kills and then saying Banshee harassment ended. So that's interesting. I wonder if that's the trigger for Ketroc's bot to give up on the Banshee harassment or not. We see a couple of these Cyclones getting killed as the Marines stim forward. They really clumped up against the siege tanks there, and they are not going to be able to get forward to break that location. I did not see the tanks on the low ground. I mean, MicroMachine can hold the line with its own tanks, but not if it just runs in with them and lets them die. Ketroc's bot has been getting aggressive. It's got the mass Viking count, so it can actually do well against this. The Banshee for MicroMachine, though, is shooting away on those SCVs, getting zoned out by the Raven. Ketroc's bot is, or MicroMachine is very good at keeping those alive. Siege tanks now shooting away at each other. It's like MicroMachine gets a good trade, kills off one of the tanks. And this is why these bot games are hard to cast, as there is all of a sudden things going on all over the place. As I said, though, we take a look. It's expansions going up all over the place for Ketroc's bot. The siege tank lines are facing off against each other. MicroMachine having a hard time breaking this location. Supplies aren't too high on either side. Scans going down, pushing away Banshees, but Ketroc's bot definitely has a lead as far as the sky is concerned. Cyclones are on the ground. Scans are all over the place because of the Banshee presence. Looks like the Cyclones will lock onto the tanks too and potentially kill them. One tank is left for Ketroc's bot, so this attack will be pushed back. MicroMachine can maybe deny one of these bases. We are seeing they are turning into planetaries, though. This will hurt the economy of Ketroc spot a little bit, as not being able to drop those mules all over the place. Meanwhile, MicroMachine got up its 4th base during all this chaos. It's up on supply by a good margin. That is understandable, though, when it's making bio against Ketroc spot, which is making mainly really expensive air units. I think we do need to see some more tanks for Ketroc spot, though, to deal with all of these ground units. For MicroMachine, Cyclone comes on in, it locks on it to actually another Cyclone, loses the Cyclone fight, but then Marines start to push on in. The Cyclones could be really big for MicroMachine, locking onto a building turret. This base is not actually a planetary, the 3rd is exposed, but MicroMachine just charged right on in. It's got a decent Viking count, 10 versus 11. The Cyclones on the ground to support 2 will be big, so they can just lock on and zone out the Vikings, lock onto the Banshees, and then just retreat. Tanks are there too to shell away. The 3rd is taking quite a bit of heat for Ketroc spot. Tank on the left, tank on the right. We see MicroMachine saying, is that range? Is that the range upgrade on your missile turret? Did you know if you zoom in, there's a guy manning the cockpit of the turret? Yes, that is true. Now, we have got MicroMachine still just trying to attack all over the place. It's getting up lots of bases, currently 6 bases to 5. Ketroc spot has not lost one of its. The worker counts are identical for these bots right now. They both say 82. That's the magic number. Who copied whose homework? As I say that, though, Ketroc spot goes up to 86. So, going for more, whereas MicroMachine seems to be happy, and that difference can honestly potentially be attributed to the fact that MicroMachine just goes for mainly or all orbital commands, and so it will have that more mule money, more money to trade out with. Ketroc spot does have 3 orbital commands, so it has got a few. Also building another command center in the main base, so MicroMachine with a slight economic lead right now, and it will be a little better with those mules. Supply-wise, things are still close. It's very difficult to break the bases of Ketroc with them being planetaries, with turrets and static defense being all over the place. The Viking count is absurd on both sides, 18 to 19. MicroMachine is making more. The Cyclones are still a big deal. There's only 1 tank for Ketroc spot. SCVs are repairing it, though, preventing it from being killed off, and that is actually oh so important. Cyclones still skirmishing non-stop. Vikings shooting down Banshees. The composition of these 2 bots is ridiculous. It's just mass Vikings pretty much, with a ragtag group of units on the ground. I mean, MicroMachine got a very strong economy, down on workers, and actually mining a little bit less than Ketroc spot as far as the minerals is concerned, just due to that worker count, I guess. Now, this base to the top right getting attacked a little bit. There is only 1 turret at the base for MicroMachine. It builds the turret in such interesting positions. You think you could go around them, but we're not really seeing that happen. Vikings are engaging each other. There is some Cyclones on the ground that can help out during this, so MicroMachine comes out on top. The upgrades are even. The tank for Ketroc does perish, and the Vikings actually land for MicroMachine. There's now an attack going on down here. A Banshee denying a new base for Ketroc spot, not denying this base on the left side, though, which is actually rightfully MicroMachine. So Ketroc trying to rob MicroMachine. Marines and Vikings are all over the place. The ground presence of MicroMachine definitely does help it out. The Cyclones can also get some good value here. The fact that they can just lock onto the planetary and then retreat. There's just, oh my gosh, stuff going on all over the place. These have got to be the more... MicroMachine is definitely one of the more difficult bots to cast and observe, as its games are just chaos, and then Ketroc spot just plays right into that. Looks like the Vikings for Ketroc are doing better than the Vikings of MicroMachine, maintaining a better count. The trades have been in favor for Ketroc spot. Upgrades are now actually in the lead for Ketroc spot with 2-2 versus just 2-1 on the Vikings. Looks like that base on the left side did get denied. Another base of Ketroc going to be getting denied as well, as this is turning into a planetary, but I don't think it's meant to be. There's some Banshee harassment going on during this. The 1 turret actually got picked off. A couple Vikings get pulled over to help deal with this, but there's no detection. A Banshee comes on over. That's not going to help at all. Looks like this planetary burning now. Probably not going to get rescued. So MicroMachine just attacking up on supply. saves this base with a scan. We see some Banshees of MicroMachine are coming on in now, picking off the workers of Ketroc's spot. It does only have one turret trying to get another, but it's not meant to be, as the Banshees just shoot that down, and then they have free reign on this base. And this can potentially cause a bit of a death spiral for Ketroc's bot, as it is a bot that wants to maintain that high worker count, so it's spending a lot of resources rebuilding SCVs, but then they kind of wander into danger, as we just saw there. As, yeah, it keeps making those workers. We've got Ketroc's bot being really pushed back. Supplies are even on both sides, so I mean, it's not looking too great for Ketroc's bot, just how hard it's being pushed, but then the Viking fight definitely goes its way. It's got 36 Vikings to 19, so it really is just going for that mass air tech, and it's working out for it. On the ground, though, it's not working out so well, as the Cyclones for MicroMachine are really darn good. The Marines as well on the ground have that anti-air. Planetaries are being pressured. The Vikings, though, for MicroMachine are just being picked off, and that is going to be a big resources loss difference. 18 more Vikings going down. I mean, it's still trading out, but look at this. Yeah, the 36 or 38 that Ketroc, 32 now that Ketroc's bot has are just so problematic. This Banshee, though, for MicroMachine plays within range, out of range of the turrets, and then we have Cyclones coming on in, harassing a little bit. They do eat planetary fortress shots when they try and do that. MicroMachine, though, now taking one of Ketroc's bot's bases, getting up turrets. That's actually very important, seeing as how, I mean, it's mainly Vikings that can't deal with a turret unless they land. So that's nice for MicroMachine. The tanks doing well for themselves, though, for Ketroc's bot. This planetary still being harassed. The Banshee, I mean, shoots that, has to be repaired, shoots the SCVs. How many kills does this have? 28 kills. That's why we see Ketroc's bot just constantly having to remake these SCVs 8 at a time. And meanwhile, this planetary under pressure too. Another Banshee being a nuisance, 18 kills on it. The turrets for Ketroc's bot, some of them got killed and they have not been rebuilt. Tank getting locked on by the Cyclones. A Marine runs up but doesn't really stand a chance. This base is becoming an orbital for MicroMachine. It's got the turret in the skies, though. Banshees will actually right-click on that. A lot of them do eat shots during that, though. MicroMachine will rebuild that turret when it gets the chance. We'll see if it can hold on to that location long enough to do so. Cyclones on the ground, still a big deal. And this game has just been 17 minutes of non-stop attacking. Banshees went a little bit too far forward for MicroMachine. They will perish. That's actually a big loss. This turret is being built. Supplies are still very high for both bots, maxed for MicroMachine, almost maxed for Ketroc's bot. It has been making those SCVs non-stop, though, as it continuously keeps on losing them. Almost a bit of a death spiral here for Ketroc's bot. The fact that it's lost 144 SCVs to 14 for MicroMachine, and that is what's really keeping the resources lost within range of each other, I think. As, yeah, I mean, you guys tell me how much 150 SCVs are. That's like 7.5k, right? Something like that. And that's a lot of minerals. Now the turret reestablished for MicroMachine. It's now starting to mine on Ketroc's side of the map. And Banshees are now, and Cyclones are hitting this location on the left side. We see the Cyclone kill off the turret. It's a bit of a symbiotic relationship. That means the Banshee can go on in and have free reign. This is going to deny more mining of Ketroc's bot. MicroMachine is really bullying its way forward and just attack, attack, attack. It's working out well. There's 36 Vikings for Ketroc's bot, so still in the lead. The one siege tank being repaired, getting big shots off. But, I mean, MicroMachine is on the door. It's on the neck of Ketroc's bot. Still more SCVs dying en masse to these Banshees. I talked about it at the start of the game. The Banshee control from these bots is just ridiculous. MicroMachine's bot author has done an excellent job, though, being able to dismantle its biggest competition when it comes to, like, the Banshee harassment with the bots go. I'd say one siege tank being repaired. It's got an SCV squad trying to keep it going. It will start shooting away on these Cyclones. The Cyclones don't deal nearly as much damage as they used to. And Ketroc's bot is breaking out a little bit here. The tanks are now in a good position to keep getting shots off. over at Unsieges, which is not good. Gotta re-siege that. Gotta repair it. SCVs save the tank. That's actually oh so important, the tank presence on the ground for Ketroc spot, and they will repair that up. Another tank needs some more repair, and I'm not sure it's gonna live though. Looks like it will go down. That's unfortunate. This one tank here still shelling away non-stop. Unsieges randomly though. I'm not sure what prompts the unsiege, as then it just goes full battle mode. Banshees in the sky, still fighting all over the place. Looks like a couple Ravens got assigned to this one Banshee that's harassing. However, they're not dropping turrets to deal damage to it. So there is some counterplay to the Banshee harassment for Ketroc spot. However, it's just there's no Vikings that have been sent over here yet to help out with that. Ketroc spot has made its signature Medivac that it uses to heal up workers. However, it's having a bit of a tough time here. Seems unsure of what to do, and these games are just a nightmare to observe. MicroMachine this game has been starting to build up a bank, whereas Ketroc spot still just keeps losing workers. 208 now dead at this point. I mean, MicroMachine keeps on pushing. Ketroc spot is broke as a joke. It's making Vikings that it keeps on losing, even though it's killing more of MicroMachines. The ground army is just causing problems now. Like, the few tanks that were there have died. Cyclones can lock onto this planetary. The Banshees continuously killing workers, though, is the big problem for Ketroc spot. And I'm not sure what else it needs. Maybe just to adjust the turret positioning when playing against MicroMachine, because they're very vulnerable here. Looks like a turret, auto turret, does get thrown down, which is kind of bizarre that it waits so long to do that. I mean, yeah, Ketroc spot is in a rough spot, and I'm not sure it's going to be able to come back from this. It's like it has been trying to establish and defend this location. It's mining happily there. The left side, though, still just crippled by one Banshee. How many kills does this thing have? 61. A Viking is here for MicroMachine as well. And yeah, no Banshee should have 63 kills. There's a bit of a problem there. We see Vikings are engaging Vikings. And it's going alright for Ketroc spot. However, it cannot replace these, so it's being forced back. The one tank on the ground is there to help out. Even a Cyclone on the ground can help, but yeah, Ketroc spot cannot replace these Vikings. Its economy has taken too much damage, and if it just, say, built a turret there instead, it would at least protect some of the mineral line. And so, maybe Ketroc spot does need a little bit of a tweak when it comes to playing against MicroMachine, because the turrets, they're too vulnerable to the Cyclones. Whereas if it just, say, built two, or an extra one, then things would be a lot better. I'll have to cast another game between MicroMachine and Ketroc to see if this happens in all the games, or maybe they're completely different in other matches. And so maybe the Banshee harassment isn't as much of a factor in other games. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed this one and you've made it to what I think is the end of this game, click that subscribe button. Join the Discord, which is linked down below. Leave a like. Click that like button. Let's go for a like for every dead SCV. Now that would be bold. Okay, maybe not that many. How about a like for every dead Viking on Ketroc's side of the map? 64 likes. If we can do that, that would be great. Yeah, leave a comment down below. That helps with the YouTube algorithm. And man, these two bots are very fun to watch. But MicroMachine does come out on top. Which is very impressive. Mass auto turrets getting tossed on down. Ketroc spot really did just go for the Vikings and the Banshees, not so much the Ravens this game. This Banshee on the bottom left. 79 kills. It even got repaired somewhere in there, which is just ridiculous. Ketroc spot can hold on, but not for long. Eventually, it will run out of money. Ketroc spot just continuously dropping mules, but this to their death. So a lot of the killed units have been mules, but they do not show up on the units lost, as they have no technical cost. Orbital command starting to fall though. This planetary gonna be next. This base has actually been able to mine peacefully for the most part. No Banshee being there. And if it wasn't for this one Banshee, maybe Ketroc spot would have been able to come back in this game. But it really did fall into its SCV. It really did fall into its SCV death loop, in which it just keeps having to replace the SCVs without really addressing the reason why it keeps losing SCVs or trying to mitigate it. And yeah, that is gonna be it. A slow death, that's for sure, but a death nonetheless. My PC is like, what are you doing? These guys got too much APM to run 8 times speed, but it will try. Planetary, how many kills did that thing have? I kind of want to know. Oh, I shouldn't have tried to rewind. That one only had 9, so okay. I guess, yeah, MicroMachine hasn't actually lost that much stuff. Mainly just Vikings, Marines, Cyclones. Ketroc spot ends with 400 dead SCVs in this game. GG. Thanks for watching.